people aren't taking into consideration when you start talking about vehicle miles traveled. And Bruce, I agree with you. I would rather see vehicle miles traveled because it's a fair system. No matter what car you drive, no matter what truck you drive, it's based on miles, not mileage. For instance, that rehabber extraordinaire van out there is mine. I get 14, 15 miles a gallon, but I have to have that van. I don't have an electric alternative to me yet. So vehicle miles traveled is a great thing. But we also have to remember the gas tax. Because the gas tax that we're collecting right now is still paying off bonds for what those gas taxes paid for. They're not going to anything new, nothing right now. We're paying off the bonds on everything we've done. That gas tax will not go away. You'll be doing vehicle miles traveled and the gas tax.
Well, yeah, don't want that. I think it should be a voluntary thing. If you.
Oh, I agree with you on that, but
but
to get to the vehicle miles traveled where it's fair for everybody, which is where I think we ought to go, we still got, I can't remember, 25 years, 20 years left on the gas tax bonds?
About 20, 25 on bonds, yeah.
Right, we still have to collect those gas taxes because they're bonded. So I just want people to,
Can't that be paid by?
yes, it can be.
Miles?
I like people to understand that where, I mean, it's the same thing. Let's talk about his vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about an electric vehicle. They're not paying their fair share. I agree with that. But they're also not green. An electric vehicle is not green. It still costs us money to charge that car. He's not paying gas tax, but he's paying for electricity, and it's not totally green.
It's paid for, well, it's charged by falling water.
Exactly, or
That's
whatever we're
pretty
using at that day. There's a lot of fossil fuels involved in that too. But, so when you start talking about the fairness of the VMT, I think it's the way to go. I just don't want people to lose sight of the fact that if we did, even voluntarily, which would be a great idea for a program, you're not going to get rid of the gas tax. It has to be there. People always think that when they're talking, or a lot of the people I talk to that think of VMT is, oh, we'll just switch to VMT and get rid of the gas tax. Ain't going to happen. But I think your idea, Bruce, of voluntary VMT, hey, sign me up.
So,
Okay, my recreational vehicle, I spend most of the miles are out of state. Would I be still charged for the miles that total driven?
That's
No,
one of the
I
problems of VMT, because the way that they're looking at VMT on a state-by-state-wide level doesn't really work. It has to really come from the feds.
but one of the systems is, again, you have a token in your car and you click spots that record you went by that spot. That's one of the ways. It's not an easy system, but we're going to.
How much is that gonna cost with these
Yeah, see,
monitors?
that's
Because
exactly
I'll drive
what
every
she
back
brought
road in the world paying a tax.
Yeah, I got to take a voluntary thing.
Comes from a giant road.
Yeah, I mean, we all go back to, okay, it's a wonderful idea, but
Well, it's GPS. You go by GPS. not
I know it sounds very simple, but you're gonna hear from him in 3 years that we had to increase because, we had to add this whole new department called.
If you bump into me in Costa Rica in 3 years, we'll talk about it, but I'm not going to have much of an opinion.
Is that where you're going?
And it's easy.
Yeah, healthcare is $40 a month.
Yeah,
Are you announcing your retirement?
I know, sorry. You're gonna have to pry this position from my cold dead.
Are we ready to change the subject?
Yeah.
Looking for money, the fishery enhancement groups, they're all over the state. You know, we've talked to you before about them. And a good example of wasted money is the Lund property here on the Pilchuck. They put in their large woody debris, their engineered log jam, and it washes out, and they say, well, it didn't work, and abandon it. And he lost another couple of acres of land, who cares? The guy up the street up here on 92 loses his house. That had been eroded for a number of years. Can't put riprap in, but we can put these logs in if you get it perfect, so he loses his house. Same thing up the Rope Canyon here. They're spending all this money with grant money. And if you look at all these groups combined, they're not the same people, but they're the same kind of people. They write grants. And then matching grants is where this money goes, and they never follow up on a project that I know of. They build a project, get the money, do their thing, leave, and nobody monitors it to see if it worked or didn't. They're all over the county. Projects they've done just go away. A good example of where riprap works is over 90 years ago probably, on the Pilchuck on Swartzmores. Nice gentle curve in the river, it was riprap. It's still there, beautiful, produces fish pond there, you know. But the game department and the state is just against riprap, you know, and they'll put the riprap in and then put logs on the outside and say, doesn't that look good? And there's logs there, you know, more shade, you know, to hide the predator and everything else. But it's just example of wasted money. It's the grant money, it's the matching funds. I don't know where it all comes from, but there's a gazillion groups.
It comes from the capital budget and it's decreasing.
Yeah, advisory groups, community groups, and they're just all out there just more money, you know. And then one more subject is like the Discover Pass. They're twinking that again. If your secretary right now, look what Montana does, where the conservation license, same thing. It's like $7 or $8 for everybody that buys a fishing license. And then you get money from everybody. It's not $30 for a busload of people. You know, it only takes, you know, you can have it on 2 vehicles, you know, and all this other stuff. They're still playing. And yet they put all these gates on everything else, you know, where I want to go. And the other one is the public trust doctrine. You're familiar with that, Hans?
Yeah, that's an old,
That goes way back to Roman days, yeah?
Right.
Okay, that's to enhance recreation, tidal lands, everything for the public.
Essentially says that there is a.
For the welfare of the people,
Pardon?
for the welfare of the people.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, now, there's only one place between Everett and Mukilteo that you can get to the beach legally, you know, without crossing the railroad tracks, you know. They blocked everything up besides the DNR gates, the beach gates, you know, and that's supposed to be our public trust lands. And they're blocking our access constantly for any reason. You know, Mukilteo there was a good place there, north end of Mukilteo by the tanks there. We'll build this Boeing dock for the railroad. And then when we get all done, we'll open it back up again to the beach. Well, they put more gates up. Nobody's been there in years now again. We're just losing it, and then you push everybody into one spot.
So Mukilteo sort of at the north end.
And where they took out the tanks.
Right.
That used to be a very popular beach, even when I was a kid.
Is that private or public, you know?
Well, it's all state land, it's all recreational land, beach. You're blocking access to the
No,
beach.
not all beach, no. A lot of the beach is private, down to the low.
No, you can't sell public trust land. There's, what is it, publican, Jewish, private and Jewish publican. You can still cross private lands to get to public land. And the public, they never gave the rights away. If you read that, even in Washington, the state still owns, they can't let you dig clams on private beach, but they can't stop you from walking across the beach, even where they put a dock up. Because they don't charge a permit to put a dock on a public beach, but you still have the right to go around it under if it blocks the way.
On private land.
On private land on the beach,
Okay,
yeah.
we might disagree on that.
I didn't know, Hans, if you saw my full-page article in the Everett Herald.
The one that was down.
D1 on the historic Pilchuck River, the steelhead situation.
Yes, I did. I haven't read it. I looked at it this morning. I look back for your words all the time.
Yeah, well,
I haven't read it yet. I got in late last night.
I just wanted to second what Ralston said about, you know, I've been in salmon recovery over half a century. And our salmon recovery programs work. It doesn't cost the taxpayer virtually nothing. All of these log jams, anti-riprap, all this stuff is baloney. The picture in the Herald was a picture of Swartzmiller's Drift. Like Ralph said, that was rocked before I was born, and I'm over 80. Where we really struggled, and the sportsmen really appreciate what you've done for us, because, especially supporting our fish hatcheries, because I've been an environmentalist my whole life. And I realize without hatchery fish, we're dead in the water. So the work that you've done to preserve Breeder Ponds, Arlington, Topel Creek is deeply appreciated. Especially the latest one of trying to get a boat landing somewhere around Snohomish, which, you know, we've suffered there for a long time. We want to appreciate what you've done there. And we've got a long way to go in salmon recovery, but we even knew the very day that our salmon were coming back, for instance, at Bunkfoss Creek. We had it pegged right to the pin, and We've been doing this for over half a century. They got these new people in there, they're just wasting money like you can't believe. I mean, I've been writing about this forever, you know that.
So on the boat ramp, could you do, so I talked to Fish and Wildlife this week, and they say the public yard place, they don't think it's a good spot now. And they've gone, they actually are now sort of trying to work on the existing boat ramp, but the city is telling them that they have to provide more parking if we do that. I just heard this week, so I haven't worked on it. But could you get Spada and go talk to the city manager and the mayor? I know how much you love the mayor, but just go talk to her about this subject, okay?
All I can say about the city of Snohomish is that they know that I know that they don't know.
Okay, I'll take care of this. Okay. Would you like to say something?
I want to thank you for being willing, first of all, you're a better man than me, to stand up here and willingly come in here knowing that you're going to get more heat than praise. And I really appreciate that about you. And the fact that you don't have to do this, and representatives don't have to go to their constituents. And I want to point out that you are, and I want people to know who does and who doesn't, and put themselves out there. I do appreciate that. I did want to, and thank you so much back there. I am passionate about the smaller magazines. And to me, that's something that doesn't have to be.
You mean a limit like 10 and below or something like
Yeah,
that?
below, yes, 10 and below. So something reasonable, but definitely not the 20, not the 30, not up into the, because that has been that allows for the serial killing, the mass killing, uninterrupted killing. And I think most people could agree, most of us reasonably could agree that you don't need, if you need a 30-round magazine to go deer hunting, you should not be hunting, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I really want to.
So we may disagree with each other here in the room. I think it's impolite to snicker and make noises, okay? And this isn't a place for debate. This is actually a place for telling me your view.
And
Okay.
yes, and so I just appreciate having the opportunity to tell you, and ask you if it looks like that's an option to happen. I know that you guys have been trying, and I'm sorry, I went to the wrong fire station, and so I was late.
It's okay.
So
You got
if you talked
your
about
time.
that earlier, I missed
Okay.
that, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. So,
Here in
Bob,
just a minute.
Bob,
Just a minute. I'm in a meeting and I'll have to call you
I
back.
have to call you back.
Say hi for all of us.
Now, I'm gonna tell you something.
no, you don't need to interrupt.
My phone rang one time and it was Hans Dunshee sitting across a table.
No, he of course has gotten it wrong. I was up here on another meeting, yes I was.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
I was.
you were.
And he was asking questions, yada, yada, yada. So
You called.
I called him, and he walks out of the room talking. Got him out of the room.
He got you back.
Okay, so I don't think those bills will pass in this legislative session. They didn't even get to a,
Didn't even get out of it.
yeah. And we did not introduce them in the House, well, maybe there was, but they weren't, we were focusing on what we thought we could get, which was background checks. We thought that was reasonable, but we didn't get the votes for that in the House either. I would suspect that there will be an initiative on background checks, universal background checks, on this fall's ballot. So we will get to air all our views on that through that process. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Sorry, nobody might like it in this room, I heard all your opinions here. But if you're gonna talk about gun laws, it's, why is it okay for us to have background checkup if we wanna volunteer at school? If we wanna volunteer in Boy Scouts, if we wanna volunteer in anything, we don't mind giving information about ourselves. Why is it not okay to do that when we want to carry a gun that's going to kill other people, that's going to destroy people's lives forever? That is the point that I don't understand how people think.
Sure. So I will try to paraphrase it, okay? This is not my opinion, but I will try to paraphrase it so we don't have like 5 minutes. is that those people don't trust the government with that information, and they believe that infringes upon their right to own a gun. Yeah, that's the reasoning, that's their reasoning. I disagree with that.
If I may. I actually don't mind a background check. I really don't. I've had more background checks.
I imagine you have.
Every time Air Force One comes to Bowling, I get another red, white, and blue background check.
I'll bet they come and look at you a lot.
I've been fingerprinted so many times, it's like, can I just give you one of the ones I already got?
Right,
You know,
right.
it doesn't matter to me. It's just like a drug test. Let's go. I'll go anytime.
Okay.
Any-
So given that,
My problem
okay,
is there's never anything that says what they're gonna do with this information.
okay, okay.
And if all they're gonna do is collect information, then that becomes a gun registry. And that's exactly what so many countries have done, just before they
I'm not
disarm their
leaving, I'm trying to
populace.
get the door open.
Just before they disarm their populace. And Nazi Germany is the prime example it's always used. What happens with the Jews after they disarm them? Okay. So I think if it was done in a fairly responsible manner with verbiage in there that protected individuals,
Mhm.
I think you would find that more people would be okay with it.
So, okay. So, what would you like to talk about? Anybody? Sir?
How do I find out how much all the foreign military installations outside of the continental USA is costing us? How much?
Sure. So what I would do if I were you is I would contact Del Benny's office or Murray's office and ask them that question. And they
All
should
you
be-
get is some little gal answering the phone and we'll call back to you. You never hear it. I thought maybe you would know.
No, I don't.
Why?
Why don't I know that? Because it's not part of my job description to
Oh,
know
it's
that.
not part of
Sorry.
the job
But if you want,
description.
I can call, I will call Del Benning's office for you and I will get the information.
Yeah.
I can send it to you. If you want me to do that, I can get that information from them if you want.
Mary's office would be better.
One more thing.
Okay,
They're I'm for closing all the military bases.
okay,
Every single one. We don't need them.
okay.
Why are we protecting Germany and Japan? We beat them once. It just makes, it's garbage.
Okay, okay,
I mean, it really burns me about this high.
okay.
You can do it.
Understand, that's a lot of money.
So it must be a couple dollars.
Yeah, it's a couple of dollars. Right.
I was over in England during the Korean War. Why, I don't know. That's what it said. Anyway,
Were you out of the country for a reason?
they didn't want me over there. So, when I was there, we had Quonset huts, tar paper shacks, And now a guy wanted to go back for a reunion. He said, you wouldn't recognize it. They got all single man rooms, 3 stories, exercise rooms and everything.
You were in the military when you were in Germany.
See? Yes.
Okay. So,
But then I joined right out of high school and I joined the Air Force. And I thought I'd learn something. Yeah, that's not right either. But I thought, maybe get into radar, electronics and stuff like that. So they put me in the Air Police unit.
maybe the difference between a draft and a voluntary army, maybe, huh? The difference in the rooms.
I don't know how that, I suppose it is now, But we got pictures of it and they're just beautiful buildings, like
Well, have you
condos.
seen some of the high schools around here?
Oh, yeah.
So having been stationed over in Japan and slept in one of those Quonset huts in the open barracks, yeah, been there, done that. And that was just back in the 80s.
But this was early 50s.
I did take the opportunity while I was there to learn a little bit about why the Japanese don't have a military, they have a personal defense force. It's really small. By our standards, I think Joint Base Lewis McChord probably has more military at any given time on that base than the country of Japan has at all. And that was all part of the surrender. I don't know about Germany, but being that it was right around that same time.
What do we got bases in England for?
Yeah,
Part of the surrender.
I can only speak what I
Portugal,
know.
Spain, Turkey, Morocco,
Okay, so there are people that are saying, why are we talking federal issues, okay?
Yeah, why not? That's what you're here for.
No,
Well, hey, you're a
let's stay.
representative.
Let's stay.
I have two other things.
Uh-huh.
First of all, can you talk about the DREAM Act, the Washington State DREAM Act, and where you stand on that and why, a little bit? And then I do want to talk to you about, I mean, just that comment that I read about
Sure.
where I live. You know,
Sure.
I just felt like that was very disrespectful to, I have not met you, you know, previous to today, but,
Okay.
you know, we send you there to
Sure.
do a job, and it's very discouraging to read that your representative feels a particular way. I mean,
The Hill, okay,
yeah, I mean, the
Evil Hill.
okay.
It's their
So,
kind of voter, isolated, ignorant, and lower income. Okay, you're talking about me, the Marysville Hill.
no, I'm not.
Yes, that's what it says, I don't.
Well, I don't know how much they've clipped of it, so I'll do the whole quote, okay? But first I talk about the DREAM Act. So the DREAM Act, we recently voted this out of the House 77-20 bipartisan vote to allow folks working towards citizenship to, if they've been in our high schools and lived here since they're, 3, but aren't citizens, maybe not even documented at the moment, but they're working towards documentation, that they could have access to financial aid if their grades are good enough to get into college. And I voted for it.
Does it take precedence over, I mean, the military just lost their tuition, nationally due to sequestration. So, but this would give preferential funding, higher ed funding to non-US citizens that have military?
No. So this is
I
just
have a
about,
comment about that.
okay? So let me answer
Okay.
the question. So this is, they're allowed to get in line
Okay.
for financial aid. And, for state institutions, it's all state money, state institutions.
Okay, so here's what I have seen. And I'm not going to talk particularly about that one, but just generally. Generally, what happens is the legislature passes a law or a rule or law. Then they send it over to somebody that makes the rules about that law. And it's in the rulemaking that things like in the DREAM Act will get preferential treatment to the non-citizens. Because somebody else interprets what they said and puts something like that in. So we really have to watch is who's making the rules. It isn't the legislators making the rules. They've passed the law. It gets put out to someplace else, like the Department of Education, will now make the rules. And if preferential treatment comes, it will come from the rulemaking.
Okay,
that's
so
what we
if
have
we
to
write the
watch.
law right, that doesn't happen.
Okay,
And
let's.
I think we pretty well did.
Let's not go too far into that.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to draw two maps. You'll just have to wait for a second while I do my great artwork here. Let's see. Hi there.
Hi.
So during the redistricting process, when the two sides get together and draw maps as to what the districts look like, and you can look up these maps and you can look up through the redistricting. So I commented on, I was sent the maps of our district, and this is Highway 9, I try to use this, and this is the top of the district, which is 100 and, what's that high school that's right there, the new high school?
84.
So that's 84, okay. So I was sent two maps and said, what do you think of these? And I said, well, of course, because I bicycle it all the time, 100 times, I hate that hill. I mean, it just kills my legs. My knee is not, it's not doing well. But this area down, and then, so I'm talking about two maps, and I say, well, on the Republican map, what they're trying to do is include rural area where you can't get to the people. And I'm going to be partisan here and say that I believe that Republicans tend to do better among isolated voters, non-urban areas. Is anybody disagreeing with me about that? That urban areas vote Democrat, rural areas vote Republican, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you like that or not, that tends to happen, and I believe it tends to happen because of isolation. You read a book called Bowling Alone. It talks about the isolation of our society and how the fact that we don't have conversations, that we don't belong to groups, that we don't interact, that occurs more in rural areas. Then those areas tend to vote Republican. So assessing a map, I said, well, I don't like the Hill. Let's go to the Hill. Though I actually win this area, by the way. If you look at precinct results, you'll see I win that area, so I do fine with the people there. It's just the topography that kills me. And I said about the Democratic area, well, if we do this, I can talk to those people. You can see that in that quote. And I'm talking about the Democratic map, which extends down into this area, down in the flats. And as I get older, flat areas become more attractive to me. So that's the explanation of that remark.
Isolated is not what pissed me off. I mean, pardon my French, but you know, ignorant was the term that kind of set me off.
And so I believe that people who don't have conversations like this are less informed.
That is to assume that people can't get in their car and go to groups like
We're
this.
from that area.
And that are on the internet reading and that are educated and are having conversations with their friends.
And it's just a generalist,
It's so insulting.
so, yeah, of course you would be. I'm not disagreeing with you that my assessment of voting patterns is what you're mad about.
No, I'm not mad about that at all. I'm mad about the use of the term ignorant
Yeah.
Okay.
to describe people because they live out in the urban areas.
So when you're gonna make a comment about your district, maybe before you say it, you can picture somebody like me who does have the internet and 2 college students and a smartphone.
And you live on the Hill.
And I live on the Hill, yeah.
And that area's fine except for the topography.
And I don't live on, I live in the general, you know, Whiskey Ridge area, but I don't know that you have to take a hill off of Highway 9 to get to my house.
No, but see, the way I doorbell this place is I park at the bottom and I bike up one side of the hill and down the other.
I know, nobody's taking issue with that, it's just the simple comment that, you know, I don't know that people who live on a farm in the 21st century are any more ignorant than somebody that you would have an easier time getting to their doorbell. And I think you could make a case that there are people that live in apartment complexes that barely have conversations with their family members because everybody's connected to the screen.
Absolutely. I'm talking about generalized behavior and voting patterns when I'm assessing those maps. And I might be wrong. I'm not disputing, I know.
We could cut through all the clutter and just say, are you proud of the use of the word ignorant when describing your voting constituents?
Okay, I wasn't describing my voting constituents. I was describing an area that the Republicans were trying to bring into the map,
Okay.
right?
Are you proud of the use of the word ignorant?
Jesus Christ.
It'll settle. I'm giving you that, of course you're not.
You're gonna dislike me, you're gonna vote against me, it's not gonna settle anything.
What was your statement before? You said you were gonna say.
Can I have you have it? I know. Okay, what is this from? Oh, this is okay.
That's
So,
the whole article.
right. So, I said, I don't like, I'm reading this, I don't like the Marysville Hill, my legs. And this is, by the way, between me and a staff person, so I'm just, it's an internal conversation. But the new downtown area, at least I can talk to them. The GOP attempt to make the district impossible to doorbell by including all this rural area, just their kind of voter. I'm talking about their kind of voter that they like. Isolated, ignorant and lower income. I'm talking about GOP, what they like for voters.
You need to realize that you're talking about half of your district when you make a comment like that. And so I'm just asking you whether I would always agree with you or disagree with you.
So I used to represent all this area when I was in the 39th.
Yeah.
And even out here, Granite Falls, Darrington, I enjoyed the conversations that I had. Politics should be about conversations. It shouldn't be about mailers and TV ads and all that crap. That's what that's a conversation about.
Well, I invite you to come anytime to my house and I'm not on a hill and I'm not ignorant.
Wait a minute, you're up here, right? You're on
I
Whiskey
am on
Ridge?
87th, yeah. I'm on 87th off of Highway 9.
Okay,
I'm not on a hill.
okay. This hill, and I've doorbelled your neighborhood, I think. if I know where he, anyway,
Marysville 31.
yeah, out there, well, a lot of that's on a hill.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
take pictures.
Now you go across here, so, so here's
Please think of
51st.
me when you're gonna talk about part of your constituency as being ignorant. That's all I'm asking.
I'm telling you what Republican politicians like now. That's an assessment of.
Okay, to me, that's
Okay.
a generalization.
No problem.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I have no idea.
So there was a conversation about gas taxes. Where are we on gas taxes? What are
Sure.
we doing? Where are we?
so there was a proposal for 10 cents or something, that basically raise 10 billion. That's gonna have a tough road this time, because a bunch of people in my caucus think education should be our first thing we do. And we're gonna have a big fight over that before we get to a question of transportation. It's just a matter of priorities, transportation or education. And I think the transportation package is not gonna be talked about until we get the education question out of the way.
So you think education will trump the transportation?
You know, in a perfect world, we should do first, but you're gonna have a lot of legislators who just, because both of those are gonna be courageous votes, right? They're gonna get them in trouble with their constituencies, and it's just gonna be, there's only so much taxing ability to do. And so, transportation, both of them would probably go to the ballot, but do you wanna put two on the ballot? That's all sort of conversation.
That's what we're at.
Yeah.
On education, my understanding is that there are 4 administrative positions to every teaching position, which is terribly imbalanced.
Yeah, that's wrong. So there are, schools, if you look at school administration, is at about 12%, 6 for the local school and 6% for the central. And that's actually a lot less than many private industries. It's in fact, it's sort of in the middle of private, as far as sort of supervisors for line workers. Schools do a pretty good job about that. You can go, are you in Lake Stevens School District? No, Marysville School District.
Everett.
I thought you lived on the hill.
No, I live in Mill Creek. I never said where I live.
Okay, sorry. I thought you did. So go to every school district and ask them for their numbers. And you can also at OSPI.
Well, I just read a book that said in the state of Washington, it's 4 administrative positions for every teaching position. That's what I'm going by.
What book is that?
It was written by Scott O'Keefe. I don't remember the name of it offhand. He's a former Microsoft executive.
Can you email me that reference on that?
Sure.
Again, everything I hear is that it's 12% of the budget is the number across most districts. And even Washington Policy Center, which is a sort of right-leaning center, will use that number.
We're gonna leave here, but thank you for letting us comment and whatnot.
Okay.
But one last comment, and you know I'm a fisherman, is that this is the first time in 25 years that I never fished winter steelhead because of the way the game department is running their
Yeah.
program now.
I
Thank you
second
very much. We'll check you.
Never went fishing this
Take
winter. It's no use.
Okay.
Thanks, Hans.
Thanks, Bob. Go check on that, go talk to the city council about that boat ramp, okay? Well, you haven't said anything.
Oh, we've paid our bill.
Okay.
I want to rile anybody yet, thank you.
You didn't want to rile anybody up? Okay.
Well, education funding, is it going to happen? Are we going to have full funding?
Yeah, so we're looking at a bunch of exemptions, trying to do that versus general increases. You know, I don't think a general sales tax, besides the fact that it's most regressive and who it hits, or property, you know, generalized, but there are a whole bunch of tax exemptions that might go on the block. For instance, you can get there's a tax exemption for bull semen. You don't pay sales tax on bull semen. Now it only raises $20 if we repeal that one. But there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. A thing called okay, well, I forget the name of it. But if you at the oil refineries, at Cherry Point area, the fuel they use in sort of the internal production, it's about, they don't pay any taxes on that, that's about 60 million. So you start getting some of those lined up, and you know, you might be able to get maybe $1 billion or something like that. It's the other side is adamantly no against anything, even putting it on the ballot. So it's going to be a little ugly. Yeah. So I don't know. You know, I can tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to repeal all those exemptions. I think that they don't benefit you. I think they came into existence because some lobbyist, you know, came in and got a deal.
What are some of the other tax exemptions, aside from gold semen?
So there's a book of them, and so propane for farming, you pay propane, you pay sales tax on propane when you buy it, they don't pay it.
So
I'm
that
not
would-
trying to have a Perry moment here, but I did name 3, right? You know, there's just a bunch of stuff like that you kind of say, maybe we could add it up to something where we could, you know, if a teacher was here, they would tell you that class size now is all over 31 kids per classroom. They haven't had a cost of living keep up for 6 years.
As far back as I can remember.
Okay, yeah, it's about 4 to 6 years. You know, I mean, anyway, that's the way we would try to go, if we can go at all. Other than that, it'll be cuts to other things to try to meet the court's requirement. And, you know, things like you don't even probably, there's a thing called the Public Works Assistance Account, which funds pretty much construction of sewer and water plants and stuff around the state. And there's about $350 million in cash in that would come out of those job creation things and come into education possibly. That might be part of the mix. So I don't know the final
As long as they don't impact businesses.
Yeah, well, some of those are B&O, you know, there are literally about 30 different rates of people paying different rates from all the lobbyists coming in saying, we need a little break here, we need a little break here, we need a little break there. Until you got this tax code that's got 30 different rates possible. And maybe there's some condensing of that. You know, there are reforms you can do that make the system simpler and give you more revenue. But, you know, everybody says don't gore my ox, right? You know, tax that person, not me. You know, and they have guys with really nice suits down there to defend their positions.
Is there any place on the internet right now, like on the legislature website that posts, you know, the specific ideas that you were just talking about, like with the, you know, both sides, you know, tax loophole reductions and expenditure reduction? Like that says these are the ideas that we're thinking about or whatever?
Sure. I wouldn't say they've gelled to that point. You can certainly look, I believe you can find online all the exemptions. You can look at the whole tax code online and how much each one of those things is, but nothing's congealed around this specific group.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Soon, so in a couple of 2-3 weeks, the Senate will offer their budget, and then about a week later after that, the House will offer their budget. And that's when you'll see the first proposals as to cuts and possible revenues. So.
Now switching the subject.
Okay.
How long, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, how long is a highway part of the safety corridor watch before something's done?
Well, if you look at US 2, it's a long time.
Because I know that 9 and 204 are part of the safety corridor watch. And like Timothy said when he came in, it was a horrible accident.
Sure.
And that's
Timothy,
not,
when we're done here, could I talk to you? I'm with Lake Stevens City Councilman. I'd like to talk to you.
yeah.
Right.
So what is the corridor watch? Tell me what that is.
Corridor is a program that we established to just make awareness, like Highway 2. Lots of accidents, but billions to, you know, widen it and divide it if you wanted to turn it into a sort of an I-5, right? So, okay, what do we do instead of that? Well, we put up signs that make people aware, maybe some lights. We do what little safety things we can afford. But it, unless we do revenue and get increased big amounts of funding, it's going to be tough to take it out of that status.
So how do they decide where to put the divider medians in versus going gradually down the whole way versus certain sections?
Sure. Traffic engineers work out and they think about where the highest accident rates are, and they sort of, they design highways, and, they're sort of laying that out as they go. And it might have been the lack of money, I don't know.
But even, they just redid it twice, I think, this
We just
section.
the big widening.
Yeah, and they put that certain section with median. Why can't they just put a little thing down the middle, because that area is just horrible to drive. And the way his accident happened, if that something, even just small, would have been there, he wouldn't have been as busted up as he is. I mean, if you took a look at his list of injuries, not to mention what Tim said, 2 people died, and that's just one accident.
Where was that?
Highway 9 right before Lundeen. I don't know if I've heard if you live
South of Lundeen.
South of Lundeen.
Yeah, south.
Yeah.
He almost didn't make it either. Thank
Sure.
goodness for the fire department and the paramedics.
Sure. So
I guess I'm trying to, because
Sure.
you said you're in construct, your part of the budget is
Yeah,
construction.
that's sort of, I do the vertical stuff, the schools, the universities. Transportation is the horizontal stuff. So I don't know, but I can find out. I can specifically ask our traffic engineers what about that area and why that isn't. I can do that, a very specific question. I can talk about this accident. If you sort of, they know about the accident now. And so if you give me, time and date and spot, I'll have that conversation, and then I'll look them up, I'll get you that information.
Did you want
So did somebody cross the center line? And somebody on the other side? Were you, I'm just curious.
They crossed, they were traveling different directions, and they crossed the center line and head on. I have the police report if anybody would like to look at it. It has a diagram that shows how it all looks.
Sure. So you have it electronically, can you zap it?
It's not electronic.
Can you scan it?
There's
Okay.
actually a.
So I could just pass it on to the traffic engineers and they could answer the question. The thing about Highway 2, for instance, and and why there aren't barricades in all the bad spots out there is because it actually causes significant slowdown when you barricade, and the police and fire say we don't want that because we need to get out around people. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in balance here. So, but zap me that electronically, and then I'll be able to pass that on to them. Okay.
I'd like to get back to schools.
Okay.
So this biennium, I was wondering if I know it's really hot and heavy and everybody's posturing, but to meet McClurry, where do you think we're going to end up this time? Where do you think? Because I mean, if the study says that we had to be by 2018 about 4.5 billion, and if you do the linear shot, it looks about 1.7 this time.
1.4 is the number we use, but same, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still,
Yeah, it's still a challenge, but where do you think we're gonna end up? I mean, it's kind of, I guess I'm wondering how hard are we pushing to get this to come through?
So you're sort of asking me to predict the horse race?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's okay. Also, I'd kind of like to know just kind of your feeling and how much are you pushing for us to get there?
So I'm here talking about cutting exemptions, trying to get to $1 billion over. I'm doing it on a tape that will be used against me in my next election. And of all these people who don't like taxes.
Yeah.
So there, right? So that'll be played 1,000 times. Hans wants to raise taxes. They'll use that quote right there. And I'm willing to do that. Now, when we're down there, I'm going to take votes to end those exemptions. And I'm going to, I'm willing to stay there till hell freezes over. Now, if we can't break the other side, who just have this ideological aversion, you know, to any kind of increase of cutting any of those exemptions. You know, at some point, some people are gonna say, I wanna go home, I'm not willing. And then we will cut other things, because you have to shift money, right? So the Public Works Assistance Account, good job-making program, City of Lake Stevens can tell you about it. Your sewer, if you're on Lake Stevens sewer here, you've benefited from that program in the past. Marysville has benefited from that program in the past with their sewer system and their water systems. That could go away. So you get $350 there. You do some more cuts to human services, not fund cuts, and you know, maybe tuition goes up in higher ed. But then you still don't get to all those cobbles together. You don't get to 1.4 billion. And I'm not optimistic about success about getting 1.4 billion for K-12. And if you read the court cases and all the, you know, we're about 49th in class size in the nation, and yet our teachers produce pretty good results, about in the middle of the state. For being 49th and like 47th in funding and all that, they still do pretty good. But they can't hold up under that sort of pressure forever. So anyway, I'm cynical about success, but I'm gonna try for it, right? I mean, I'll charge the bayonets myself.
Well, we'll help you.
Do you work some,
Yeah, I'm a school board member here in Lake Stevens.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we're real motivated to.
I understand. So why don't you talk about the cuts that come your way and talk about the impact?
You know, I don't know a lot of I'm kind of new. I think you tend to be kind of new for a long time because it's such a big deal. But yeah, there are a lot of demands that have been unfunded for a long time, and so we've been pulling back a lot with funding, and the class sizes are a result of that. You know. And but we're doing fairly good in Lake Stevens. I think there are a lot more districts in the state that are doing a lot worse than we are. So we feel very fortunate. We have a lot of really good community support, and so we feel very fortunate. However, there are more and more. We have the Common Core curriculum coming down. We have now the TPEP, which is the Administrators and Teachers scorecard, for lack of a better word. So there's a lot of things that we're having to try to implement without any additional funding for them. And
about 80% of your funding roughly comes from the state, right?
Right. And so for years, you know, without full funding from the state, we've been mitigating that, and so and we've gotten by, like I said, in Lake Stevens, a lot better than we have in other places. But now with McCleary in the court case, it says that we need to really paramount duty to fund schools. We're really looking at it as an opportunity to do these things that we've already have been asked to put in place. And so we're really excited about that, to be able to reduce the class sizes.
You're real excited about a court case in a legislature that is...
That doesn't really, you know, and if you look at the courts, very serious about holding you guys accountable to that, and so somehow it's going to have to get there.
So one of the possibilities is that we have a little constitutional crisis about who's in charge, and do they attempt to write a budget? Yeah, I mean, the pretty clear how the division of separations of powers was, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully we can avoid that question, but I kind of want to sell off I want to rent the Temple of Justice, which is this big, beautiful building down there. I want to rent it to McMinimans and have that be our answer. And those folks in their robes can go meet in a Tumwater Motel 6 or something. You know? But it's a little snarky. And it's going to be on film now.
Right, I'm with you on that one.
Anyway, yeah, you don't like them because of the 2/3 thing. I don't like them because...
Oh, I'm okay with 2/3. I kind of agree with you on the 2/3 thing.
Okay. Anyway, it's a tough rock.
Yeah, and it's also, we don't, you know, the social services that are really helping some of these kids that...
oh God, I love these saying that. Yeah. So I'm going to 5% more kids are homeless now than last year, right? So that's gonna impact our education system significantly. Those kids show up, they're hungry, they slept in a car somewhere last night.
Don't know where they're gonna sleep tomorrow night.
That's right.
So how do you take a math test?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do I cut human services and pretend that that's helping education? How do I cut mental health and pretend that that's helping education? I don't. And you want to destroy your growing economy, you whack your higher ed, right? So that's the quandary of my job.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll help you, Hans.
So, yeah, I agree, we'll help you. I just want you to know, I am not a teacher, but I would encourage everyone here to dedicate themselves for the rest of this school year to go in 1 day a week, or 1 day a month, and volunteer your time. Oh, by the way, you'll have to go through a background check, but you can handle that. Volunteer your time in the school and watch what they do. They are absolutely magic workers with no money, with no assistance. They don't have 4 people per teacher. There is absolutely no way. If they did, you'd have teachers preening up and down here dancing. So just go see what goes on a daily basis in the school at the grassroots level. Look at the level, like Hans says, look at the level of what your clients are. One day they're here, the next day they're not, they're homeless, they don't have enough food, etc., etc. And watch what they have to do. Oh, by the way, now let's put on all of the, you have to teach at this level and you have to pass this test. And oh, by the way, you better go get your education because you have to have your master's, and you better go get your professional ed degree. You better go get all this other stuff because you got to have it. And you have to teach kids on a daily basis. Go watch that. You would be appalled. If you are from a business, if you run a business, whether it's a large or a small business, equate what they're trying to do to the business and you would fall flat on your back. I encourage everyone to do that. And then talk about what do we want to do about education and why can't a 3rd grader read at the 3rd grade level when they haven't had breakfast, don't know where they're going to sleep at night. And oh, by the way, that's not one out of a school room, that's many. You have people that are having problems with the language, they're having special help with language. You have kids that have come in from another district that you have absolutely no idea what their background is. Try to do that just watch them try to do that on a daily basis.
Okay,
and then ask
you have to, who are you?
Then ask the question, why would I want to be a teacher? That is the big question.
Yeah. And if you go into a teacher's room, half of the material in there they bought themselves.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Or the volunteer bought it for them, or they made it.
Right. So it's 5.
I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. So it's 5 minutes to, and my throat has some capacity left. So I'm going to use this to thank you all for coming, even you, PJ, with your camera, which you can see this at, film at 11 here. We had a civil discussion, and that's so valuable to me about democracy. And actually, I want my voters intelligent, smart, and well-informed, and that's why I do these things. And I'm going to do a, pardon?
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing it, and thank you for what you do.
Right, and that comment was an assessment of what the other side, I believe, wants. But I really think democracy actually is only stronger when we do this, and the sort of the MSNBC versus Fox stuff is just an acid on our democracy, both sides. And I think that people who disagree should be in a room and should talk to each other, and that's what we should do. I actually have introduced a bill a couple of times in a row now to split the legislative districts because they're too large. There are 137,000 people, I don't get to enough of the houses. And I'd love to get to a higher percentage of the houses and have these things. I'm going to do a phone version of this in the near future, in which we'll call your house, and some of you will not like that, but some of you will listen to a conversation which will be like this, and I would ask you to participate in that too. Though you are rare people that come out on a Saturday, again, 137,000 and about 40 people have showed up at these things. I wish this room was 5,000 times larger and that there were people all here having these discussions. And I really do appreciate you all coming.
This is the first time I attended something like that. I think it's fantastic. The system is awesome. To be here and be bombarded by 25, 26 people who are against what you do or people who like what you do, it's chapeau bas.
Cool. So can I ask what country your accent is of?
Lebanon.
Lebanon?
Lebanon. I've been here for a long time. But also I would like everybody to know that gun law. I lived in a country during Civil War where everybody was armed with those big weapons that you see here. We call them Kalashnikov over there. My father never owned a single gun. We were never attacked by anybody because we were just like trying to avoid the war. I volunteered at the Red Cross to make things positive. When I come to the first country in the world, to the best, more civilized country in the world, and I see people carrying guns to protect themselves, they're worried of the government hurting them. I mean, we elect this government. We have all kinds of democracy, the best in the world. The whole world is trying to mimic this country, democracy-wise. Why would we need to worry about the government? Why do I need to carry a gun to protect myself from my neighbor who is as nice as anybody else? If somebody like this lady, and I can feel with you, and I think of it a lot of times, like what if somebody attacks me? What if somebody wants to open the door and come? I don't know what I will do. I will call 911 and hope for the best, but I cannot see myself carrying that small gun that I have in my cupboard and pointing it at somebody and killing him and having him on my conscience my whole life.
But then that's the wonderful thing about our country, though, is we have the freedom, each individual, to make that decision for themselves, how they want to protect themselves. And
That's
we do.
true, but
That's
it's
why
getting in the wrong hands where people are going and killing mass, like killing in schools, killing whatever they want, just because they don't like the other person, they just carry the gun, and they can do it. If they don't have that gun handy, they'll have to use a knife, it can be less tragic than what it is right now.
So thank you. So I will say that the minimal amount of traveling I've done in other countries, and I hack through the languages and try to understand those places, and to have you bring your perspective. I mean, we are a country of immigrants, always have been, and I think that's part of our wonderful mix, in that you bring the experience from a country that has been ripped apart, and
Nothing good comes out of guns. That's what I know.
I appreciate that. Okay, thank you all. If you want information, because we've talked about a lot of people getting information, write on this paper and what you want, and I will get it for you, okay?
When I'm down in here Monday. Not that one. It's really, have you heard about that?